Welcome back, everyone. Continuing our Canary application from part A. Let's first extract this component to a separate file. We're doing this because in practice, the index.js file should only have a few lines of code to bootstrap the entire application. We should not define any component here. Create a folder called components. Let's create a new file called CanaryApp.js in the folder. Go back to index.js. Copy the class to the new file. Next, we need to import React because we're using the React superclass. And then export the component so that it can be used back in the index.js file. Go back to index.js, remove the default app component import, and then import the new Canary app component from the file's path. The JS extension on the file name is optional. Everything should work exactly like how it was, but now the component class is in a separate file. This application is so simple that we can just put everything in a single component. But to see how two components communicate to each other, let's extract the button and span to a new component. Create a file called buttonbox.js in the components folder. We're going to create a new component class here. All we need inside this class is a render method. Go to the app component class, copy the two elements, and put them in the new class. Use a div element to wrap the two elements. And then import React. And export the component. In CanaryApp.js, import the new component. Since the file that we're importing is located in the same folder as this current file, we don't have to include the folder name in the path. Finally, we can use the button box element. Using a component inside another component is called composition. This is how React developers create complex user interface by mixing components together. The two components are forming a hierarchy. We call this the parent component and this the child component. The code is not working yet because the state and the callback method are not available in this component. We need a way to pass these two things from the Canary app component to the button box component. We're going to use something called props. Props are data that we can send from a parent component to its child component. When the parent component is updated with new state, it will automatically re-render the child component with new props. In the Canary app component, we can set the props as attributes on the button box element. As a convention, the name of the callback function is prefixed with handle, and the prop name for the callback function is prefixed with on. Back in the button box component, we can use the props with this.props. And don't forget to change the callback name to onClickIncrease, which is the name of the prop, and then change state.count to props.count. Props are essentially how a parent component talks to each child component. A callback function as a prop is called a callback prop. It's basically a callback function passed from the parent component to its child component as a prop, and the child component can call this function as a way to talk back to the parent component. Regular props and callback props are the two-way communication between a parent component and its child component. At first, we have a single component with state and view, and the data flows from the state to the view by default. And then we use events to have the view communicate back to the state. That's a two-way communication between the state and the view. And then we added a new component, and the two components can talk back and forth using props. If you wish to learn more about React, you can check out the official documentation. You can also take a look at the other videos on this channel. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.